Oh shoot! No fade there. That wasn't good. Okay, give me just a moment. How's everybody doing today? Don't know how many people do we even have in here. I'm testing some new audio settings. Some new useful audio settings. And some new apps so I could do some stuff like drawing. It's not really, despite the fact that my second monitor is a drawing tablet, actually not really that practical for me to use it as such. Causing me no end of problems. Let's try pairing. That didn't work. Hey, I said connect. It's like classic audio problem. Start of yep. It just didn't. It just needed to turn on. Here we go. Okay, try this. There, give me a couple. Give me a couple of words. He's not as a bit. Durian, if you could hear me, you're muted. It might just be away from the keyboard. That's fine. Anyways, who else do we have here? Giving Discord, and honestly, what? Giving Discord an honest try. Okay, that's fine. Anyways, how's everybody doing today? A couple of things to go over here. Not complicated. I'm going to open up Twitter because I had a thread the other day trying to tie in. Yesterday, yeah, it was yesterday, trying to tie in multiple different kinds of threads. Focuses of design, some RPG theory, and some other bits. There we go. Ah, deeply unfortunate. Korean lagged out. This is not going to be a giant long stream like last night was. Oh, hello. Oh, hey, now I can hear you. Turn you down slightly. How you doing today, buddy? Uh-oh, now I can't hear you again. I don't know if you keep accidentally muting yourself, but it's okay. This is going to be a scuffed stream, because I'm pulling up a bunch of different things at once. Mostly a test stream, so I can figure out some other stuff. And this is not going to be video fodder the same way the last one was, because I need to get tomorrow's video uploaded, ready to go tonight. That's why we're not going to spend forever discussing this, but we are going to spend a little bit of time discussing this. I'm guessing, Durian, you're on push to talk. I can. So I'm going to start off with this thread here. For today, alright, here's how I'm going to structure this, because I'm going to time myself. We are going to start off with this lovely, yeah, there, perfect. We're going to start off with this thread, and the purpose of it, all the Jeffrey Johnson tie-ins and connections here. Then I'm going to jump off into a conversation that you and I, Durian, were having last evening. And then we're finally going to move to handling, once we finish all that, we're finally going to move on to some new kind of, well, I'm not going to spoil it. There's a surprise at the end. But first, I have a thread here on why Braunsteins are kind of, or were the original DM character sheet. And we have Durian and I's conversation earlier today about, and yesterday as well, about kind of DM character sheets, whether they existed. The fact I couldn't really come up with a solid definition of a DM character sheet. I just felt like everything that we had come up with prior didn't work or function properly. And the last thing, last problem we had will be, of course, a surprise, because I might be able to use my Remarkable to kind of like sketch out while I'm actually on the screen here. That would be really nice if I could do it live. That'd be fun. In fact, I think I could do it. So we'll see how that goes. I got some surprises at the end. Anyways, sound off in the chat if you are here and you're hearing my voice. I want to know who's here. So, jumping straight into the Twitter thread, I made a couple of photos. Jeffrey Johnson had a very interesting Twitter thread of his own. I will be linking his blog post in the chat shortly, and it was great. It was fantastic, and I had to screenshot different portions of it with relation to last night's stream. YouTube audio was good. Thank you, Durian. So I said last night I told everybody how I learned to string AD&D social encounters, we'll circle back later, together using combat as a model, and I was inspired by Matt Colville, wanting a character sheet for... And here, we have... Here, I said on Sunday I'm telling everyone how this character sheet comes together, courtesy of the Cardinal. Jeffrey's thread was primarily focused on the idea. And I think I can just, like, click on him from here. No, I can't, because Twitter sucks nowadays. Anyways, on how basically the Braunstein isn't like this kind of add-on to RPG play, it's the entire focus of RPG play. Without the Braunstein, you basically have nothing. You don't have the entire history of the hobby. So what do we do? 2024. How are we going to tie Braunsteins back into our regular play? It's a good question. I think that a point of inspiration or a point of praise in favor of Braunsteins, I'm not sure if this is where everything is going to go. I'm not sure if this is where D&D is going to go. Any other RPG hobbies. But I think of Braunsteins nowadays as kind of being the character sheet, because the Braunstein is, of course, multiple different actors competing against one another in a referee-style role. You have competing referees. That's pretty... I mentioned things like, the PC's attack and damage roll comes with their ability scores. You roll that in character creation. It has modifiers on it from the environment and from their gear and from their from loot that they might have acquired throughout the game, and then you have spells, of course. It's not really clear. It's until you look at the character sheet, it's not really clear what among your it's not really clear what on your character sheet, or sorry, which of those modifiers you need to keep track of all of the time. That's kind of the problem. That's the job of the character sheet, then, is to list out which modifiers you must pay exact attention to and which are critical, the floor, the baseline of attention and proper bookkeeping, and the rest of which is eyeballing it, right? Your bonus to hit must be at least, must cover, or must include at the very least this. Any bonuses from strength, any bonuses from your You have your Thaco, you have your attack mate. Well, not Thaco, I guess. Not second edition Thaco, whatever. You have your attack matrices. You have negative AC. I know what your chart is by level. If you have a weapon versus if you have a weapon, you're probably going to include weapon versus AC because it's really not that big of a deal. It's just a small line. Once you attack one guy who's in plate, you know, oh, hey, this is the thing that's like better against plate, and so maybe you don't even need to track that. But at the very least, you need to track your bonuses from strength. You need to track your bonuses from any magical equipment that you have, and like the weapon itself. And then, of course, you need your base attack bonus calculation on there. So the job of the character sheet then is to establish a baseline, a floor. And that helps reduce, it doesn't necessarily reduce complexity, but it reduces the number of the overall number of boxes that you need to check. Because at the very least here, you have a fair, these are the numbers that indicate whether you have a fair shot at hitting something on a moment-to-moment basis. You don't need to calculate all this stuff at once. The character sheet is your interface for handling attack rolls. I phrase it as collapsing these different frayed paragraphs and mechanics from around different books into a single thread any Rube can focus on. And this explains why the DM didn't have a physical character sheet in 79. Because Jeffro's continuing on in this process, and see here. There we go. Put user in timeout. No, that's not what I meant to say. Pin message. Prove me wrong, chat. Say hi. So Jeffro's continuing in his own personal thread that I'm screen capping, talking about how the original Braunstein was really fun in of itself. Wesley had to wing it because the idea was half-baked, but if you set up a Braunstein session, you could just use your AD&D manuals to adjudicate everything, and AD&D, his claim, is a toolkit for managing Braunstein interaction. And this is where, after I viewed this thread before my stream the other day, but I went back to it to make this thread after the stream I did on social encounters, and it just kind of clicked for me. Oh, if AD&D was always designed with Braunsteins in mind, then really each person at the table who is managing a faction or castle or some other kind of high level NPC is kind of a character sheet unto themselves, existing for the primary DM, the primary referee, to push, right, as a button. Does all that make sense so far? Am I speaking complete gobbledygook, Mr. Durian? That is, thank God. Start a poll. Did DMs ever have a character sheet? I'm gonna put that in chat here. So basically the purpose of my thread here is that goblins outside of the dungeon, then goblins don't really exist. They don't really have a purpose outside of just being a rote combat monster until somebody, your buddy Dave, takes over concept of goblins or creates a faction at the very least of goblinoids, and then that's why you don't really have something like goblin culture, at least in the monster manual, because that would be like listing out individual player personalities. There's no point to it. You don't want like an individual player personality and like a player. Uh-oh. Come on, man. You don't want like player lore inside of your player backstory. Would you want player backstories inside your monster manual? I don't think that would be good. Hello, Robert Stevens. Yeah, so I don't think that having player backstories inside your monster manual, your encounter manual, would be. So, what am I left with, I guess? It's really the only thing I have at that point is I have my friends around the table, whatever lore they invent for goblins, really their individual faction of goblins, I all of which comes from like goblin alignment, the fact that they tend to like caves, they're related to some other goblinoids and stuff like that. That is really all a Braunstein referee, a Braunstein player, a patron player needs in order to create a goblin faction. So why doesn't the DM have a character sheet? It's because basically everything, because the role of collapsing different frayed paragraphs across multiple different books into a coherent, mechanical, and narrative vision. This is going to be part of a video on the elusive shift. I would love to do like just once. I would love to do like a 2 to 3 hour video, and I think I can do it. I think I can do it on the elusive shift and why it gets so much wrong. But if you take the AD&D rules on their face, with the fact that with the presence of Braunsteins in mind, as not as like a vestigial kind of add-on, which is redundant, but as like the core focus of RPGs and how this was originally designed, I think that the Braunstein referees, the people running your factions, serve that same purpose, serve that same function of collapsing different mechanics and narratives into really deep, meaningful narrative role-playing into a single coherent vision for the baseline, the floor of what was required to run them accurately. What was required to run these factions as coherent, mechanical, role-play informed visions. It had to be people. It could not be anything else. All right, I have a couple of tags here. Town Hall. There we go. What else did I have? Snugly says, I actually created, somebody in my Discord apparently created a script a while ago to ping a user endlessly. Interesting. Contest on a 40k server, that's a huge distraction. Snugly, you're distracting me. I'm on a stream right now. I don't even know if he's watching. He's probably not. He's on incognito view, so I don't get an additional view. That's the point of this thread, is that, hey, everybody is supposed to kind of, given that player characters are supposed to kind of interfere with and then join into a Braunstein mode of play, I think that make a really good argument that the player character sheet, the sheet for player characters at your game, is really the DM sheet. Because you can fit, if you could fit a high-level fighter who runs a castle and owns and runs a castle and owns and runs like a mercenary company and a fuck ton of troops or whatever, then why couldn't you do the same with like a important goblin NPC and goblin faction? It's not clear to me why you. It's not clear to me. You could do it, right? I'm confident that it is possible. I understand nowadays why I think it's not likely, and this is where we come to our discussion, Durian, back in chat for a little while ago. Let's see here, Durian, where were we talking about that? It might have been Gelatinous Rube. That's where you showed me a DM character sheet, which I've now brought up. It is kind of a reference guide. I pulled up this one, and I was thinking about it. It's like book 2 forms book, and this is intended to be a kind of yeah, adventure flow chart. this is intended to be a kind of referee DM sheet, and I sympathize with this coming close, but I don't think it worked. Right. Right, and they don't even necessarily have the fucking monsters inside of them. Most of them don't, actually. I think it's the standard is they don't have the monsters inside, except for like a special one, right? Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the Dragon magazine, a lot of the Dragon magazine adventures or novels were like that. Novels, modules, what I meant to say. Okay, so I think that's a name. Epithets. Oh, that's dangerous to put in the feature villain section. See here, language is known. Yeah, so for this stuff, I feel like this is all just a list. I don't think that this collapses detail to a good enough section. I think that this provides you with a separate whole encyclopedia of single characters or of single encounters that does tie it together like frayed different paragraphs together, but ultimately I think makes you do the same exact amount of work, or maybe even more work. Because as opposed to flipping between different pages, you have to flip between different pages and then collect everything onto one page and then set it down in front of you. There's an argument to be made, I think, that that's actually more work. There's nothing on the sheet that indicates what good enough to run the encounter is, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Right. I do like that. Oh, sorry. Continue. Continue. Yes. No, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. In fact, I think that's kind of a. I think that's an example of the thing of the. I think that's an example of the principle I'm talking about here, where you don't need in a situation like this, you don't need. You've created some kind of a specific type of encounter. You've created a type of encounter that has a specific role to it. To call back to our social encounters stream, where the whole point is that like the other villains are vulnerable, right? So you don't need to go through their individual attack routines or order routines, or you don't have to roll them up on a random encounter in order to place them in a given location. You can just kind of say that they're over there because the whole point of a villain is that you get to we know that there are villains on the campaign map. And maybe when we first create them, it's a result of rolling them up individually. I love that. But placing them is not if they fade into the campaign background and I have need of a villain, and I already have one in the background here. It's kind of faded away. There's I don't think I need to roll to justify placing that villain on in front of the players right now. Hmm. Right. Yes. My favorite. Yes. Okay. So that I do not want to create a one-page module. I do, on the other hand, want to create a one-page attack routine, right? I want to create a one-page list of encounters that can then be, or maybe not a one-page list of encounters, but like a list of encounter types and a list of action types that I can then reference on a single character sheet. Much like for a dungeon, I don't know, I still don't know what that would look like for a villain, but I do now know what this would look like for a create a new notebook, so I can see if I can just kind of I'll scribble on my screen here. Here we go. Here we go. We're gonna try this out. Remarkable. Hey, there it is. It works. It works, thank goodness. So we're going to call this on my screen. I'm going to boot up my virtual camera as well. OBS, start virtual camera. And we'll also do it on Discord so you can follow along. And hopefully this will not nuke. I'm hoping this will not nuke my performance. Everything looks green right now. Oh, if that's the case, here, I can turn off that camera. Okay, so I'm going to create a new notebook here. I'm going to call it Dungeon Character 2Rs Sheet. Desktop note taking. I can now use the app to type, edit, and create notes. Tap into the just. Alright, yeah, that's very fascinating. Cool. Learn more. Type out longer drafts and. Cool. Connect to Wi-Fi here. So that's for typing. How do I draw on this? If I can't draw, then what's the point of this? Nothing. Okay, so we're gonna go back to plan B? No, we're gonna go to plan B. Apparently I can't draw on this, which is a little frustrating. Alright, Jorian, are you familiar with Appendix A of the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide? Okay, so AD&D of the Dungeon Master's Guide is huge. A lot of tables, a lot of tables. Big fan of all these tables because I think it produces a sufficiently like random, interesting, all in all fun. Stop. There we go. Yeah, seriously. So I think it's really cool because the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide creates, especially even if you've this is beautiful. If you follow it right down to the letter, every single instruction, every single roll for the for Appendix A will produce a beautiful, beautiful dungeon that is that you can navigate. Right, corresponds with a mental map, a cognitive layout that your players can navigate in the way that just somebody drawing random loops and random lines in a dungeon cannot. I think I posted ages ago a really horrible dungeon that did have some loops in it, but for the most part had all of these almost like pine needles, these random corridors that would kind of stick out and end in dead ends or would like connect with another pine needle to go off to some other main branch. But the dungeon was just completely full of them. And despite having loops, it was not a cognitive layout. It was not a cognitive map that anybody could follow because it was all just like 10-foot corridors where you have to either go in a straight line this way or go in a straight line that way until you eventually find a loop. And that's not how Appendix A works. But there's a lot of stuff in here that we can't kind of. It takes a really long time to generate, is the big problem. Now, I like this level of detail. I think this level of detail is good, and I think it's useful. But I'm forced to, just like how in AD&D when it comes to attack rolls, I like the fact that the unarmed combat system has a billion different modifiers that you can use, because I personally know that if I just roll the D100 and get on with it, I will have a few modifiers in my head that I can kind of eyeball, or the enemy will have a few modifiers that we can eyeball. Like if I'm grappling the Ifrit or whatever on the cover, that thing is so much stronger than me and so much heavier than me and so much taller than me that if it goes for grapple check, I can either make my attack to try to fend off the grapple attempt, or I am screwed. It really doesn't matter how well I roll, I'm screwed. Unless it rolls something like horrifically horrific, unless it rolls like a 1 out of a D100, it's not really going to matter. So I like that. But a lot of people throw out the unarmed combat system because of all those modifiers. They don't understand that, like, yes, you you do want to pay attention to the modifiers, but there's like this flow chart of priorities where, okay, if you are 2 minutes into this resolution and you have not yet found a modifier that is actually going to change the outcome of the result in these kind of like 20-point brackets, it's not going to change from one to the other. It's time to eyeball it. And the Appendix A doesn't have something like that, but I think it could. I think it could because we have. Go ahead. Like dungeon morphs. Imagine if there was if I could put dungeon morphs on your character sheet, and I gave them names like they were moves that the DM was going to use. Right? Here's the weird dungeon morph. Here is the I have changes here. I'm going to change this to collapses. For like rolling, what's a d6 table? What could we use on a d6 table for dungeon morphs? I think that weird is probably going to be like an obvious one, so I'm going to put that on 6. We have weird. We have maybe lair, but maybe that belongs somewhere else. We have a bunch of categories too. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, here's the thing. What if we defined all of these? Like, all right, I have the morph, so this is going to be the basic shape of our dungeon. And morph 1 is like standard, we'll say chambers, right? And chambers is like a 5-room dungeon. Because you could probably string together a 5-room dungeon with either other dungeon morphs or other 5-room dungeons and have like an AD&D dungeon made. That wouldn't be. I don't think that would be great. It actually sounds really interesting. Well, okay. So morph. We have morph number 1 is chambers for like a 5-room dungeon. This is a kind of a not quite self-contained loop of dungeon. But then we have like egress, I guess, which is like this is designed to take you to a different branch of the dungeon, either different floor, or branch. And maybe that's more like a passage than anything. So egress is like, yeah, egress is either passages or stairs. We have that. That's 2. What else could we think of for dungeon morphs? Like standard room. Oh, we are. Or we could is the thing. So maybe morph I don't think that morph has to include. Yes, I have a thesis statement. I don't think that morph has to include dungeon encounters necessarily. And the idea behind this is that at a moment's glance during the session, you can roll any of these and just kind of eyeball where the passages are supposed to smooth in together. But at any moment, simultaneously, the code is right there. So you could choose to let's say you're in a break or whatever have you, you could choose to go back and roll instead of on this d6 table, you're going to go back behind the code and replace this 20 by 20 chamber with a roll for chamber for like room shape and size and kind of deviate there. Because we're saying, and kind of what the character sheet is declaring is that, look, your dungeon is supposed to have these elements inside of it, but don't worry as much about don't worry about the modifiers to the exclusion of actually playing the game, because you can pay attention to these tables to the exclusion of the game if you kind of obsess with them over more and more time. To get the angle of this exactly right. I don't really think that's the point of them. I think the point is to produce these morphs, but in a way that's more varied than just setting the morphs up. I think the point of morphs then is to say, just like the point of attack rolls, is not to be an exhaustive list of potential modifiers, but it's supposed to be a list of things that you are supposed to be able to do every session. So when you're in a dungeon, you are supposed to be able to come across a set of, let's say, 5 rooms that have some content in them. And then you're supposed to come across some passages. So I think we got chambers, we got egress, and then similarly for dungeons, I think you could roll, just like you're rolling for morph, you could roll for hazard. And so hazard is going to be something like lairs, random encounters, or we'll say wandering monsters. And again, this is the key here, because I think this is where I think this is where a lot of like rules light RPGs actually really messed up, is that they were trying to replace the tables with these simpler, smaller tables. And I think that's the opposite of what you should be doing. I think the purpose of the simpler, smaller tables should be, hey, here's all of the content, or as much content as we could kind of like boil down and distill into these smaller tables, but at a moment's notice, anytime you had the opportunity or the inspiration or just a spare moment, could go back into the code and pull the meatier, the more valuable, more granular table results out of the ether. Much like if I was designing a character sheet for a 5th edition encounter, I've been thinking about this a lot today. It's not going to include the individual saving throws and modifiers and skills for most of the monsters, especially not the lower level one. I don't care. I honestly don't care if a goblin has a -1 saving throw to strength as opposed to a kobold's -2 saving throws. If I have both of them in the same encounter versus 8th level player characters, it's going to be a wash. Are there situations where it could come up that like the kobold would not make the saving throw versus the goblin would make the saving throw? Sure, but maybe by virtue of, but I can also imagine in the fiction of my head that by virtue of having the goblins next to them, the goblin allies, are able to aid the kobolds in some way, in a way that like helps them make the saving throw, brings them up to par. But if I had the opportunity, if I had no more goblins left and there were just kobolds, or I happened to roll a wandering monster check and brought up a bunch of kobolds then, and it was only kobolds, and they mostly had the same statistics, well then I could just run that straight out of the monster manual, really. I don't need a dedicated encounter sheet because I have the stat block. Let's see. What do you think? What else could we do? So for hazard, I'm putting down like lairs, wandering monsters. What else do we have for either monsters? And the chat is free to say this as well. Gauntlet! The phrase is gauntlet. There are many traps. And maybe this is not only a... Ooh. Is this a dungeon morph or is this a hazard? Maybe both. Fuck it. Nobody can tell me to... Honestly, that's... great! If I can put these... The chances are such that you're supposed to encounter... that you could definitely encounter a bunch of traps at once, right? It's lower than anything else, but you could encounter a bunch of traps or hazards at once. It wouldn't be that... or if we spread out the table between either... You have Gauntlet, and then you assume that some empty rooms are extraneous, and then you have the tricks and traps together. and the special results together as well, then you could have something like a gauntlet where you have a collection of several different traps, and maybe there's a monster nearby that you could infer was also setting traps of their own that add to the overall hazard or threat. So I'm going to put gauntlet in both sections. For traps, tricks, and environmental hazards. So you can have an egress that is so a gauntlet has a specific dungeon morph, a shape to it, that also has room contents associated with it. And really what we're saying for gauntlet is probably it just has one trick, one trap, maybe one environmental hazard, but besides that it's not going to be, you know, it's otherwise it's not going to be terribly special. It's just I'm rolling for, at the same time that I'm rolling for shape of the dungeon morph. Yeah, that when I'm rolling for morph, I am rolling for partial room contents at the same time as the overall shape. So we have chambers, egress, gauntlet. I think arena is a good one. Arena is you actually have a pretty decent chance of getting a chamber of unusual shape or size. You have a really good chance of getting a chamber of unusual shape or size inside of the inside Appendix A. If I just go to the tables here, like where's my? I should really bring up my. Yeah, where's my DNG? Cool. Let's go down to appendices, Appendix A. I think it's something like 15% chance. If you consider, that's basically 1 out of 7. So I feel like we're pretty close here. Yeah, unusual shape and size is 18 through 20. We could have a circular shape, triangular shape. Some of these will have magic pools in them. Okay, an unusual size is like fucking huge. So maybe an arena is like one large room. And yeah, one huge room. Smaller orbiting passages and one huge room, smaller orbiting passages and chambers. And we'll say, by default, we'll say it's like a coliseum. Now, naturally, a coliseum is circular, but let's say I have a little bit of extra time on my hands. And in the moment, while I'm mapping this, I decide, I want it to be something else. I could just pick up my d20. I had the purpose of my roll secured. I have the overall dungeon morph. I've been able to eyeball it so that I'm not playing the game. And I'm not ready for the game. This is the needle that we have to thread here. And maybe we're doing it maybe we're not going to be successful. But I think just pointing out the problem, a la Colville the other night, I think pointing out the problem is kind of, it's got to be the first, I hope it's the first step. Eophos Acre says that Sunshrine there is bothering you. What, you mean on the Isle of Dread? Which is next to the Hidden Bluff dungeon? Why is that bothering you? The Isle of Dread. Why would that be bothering you? Come on now. I'm already confident that that your operation is going to be successful. Yeah, so we're going to go there. I got, what, a 17? Let's say I have a spare moment, and I say, oh, another fucking circle. I don't want another circle. Say, what is a 17? Hexagonal. Oh, it's a hexagon instead of a circle. Cool. That's probably good. Alright, so we have, for Morph, we have Chambers, Egress, Gauntlet, Arena, and the sixth result is going to be Weird. But I don't have a fifth one. I know what Weird is going to be. I have an idea of what Weird is going to be. Is you're going to roll again. Maybe I'm not rolling for the. Maybe I'm actually not rolling on this table at all, or it could be a table. And I'm going to leave that thought to the back for. Okay, so we have hazards, lairs, wandering monsters. I don't know if that's actually good. Durian, do you have any? Do you have any other suggestions for our current two categories, or do you have any suggestions for other categories? I'm thinking of like maybe putting direction on there. Oh, Durian, are you still there? If yes, you are muted, which is deeply unfortunate, so I'm gonna have to entertain myself here. Okay, so room contents, I remember making my own schedule here, where I was like, room contents, 1 through 8 is empty, 9 through 10 is an environment feature, 11 through 14 is monster plus trap. Oh no, part of this was supposed to be not monster plus, no, it was supposed to be monster plus trap, 15 through 17, monster plus treasure, 18 is special and unique encounters, 19 is trap, 20 is just treasure. Maybe, yeah, that's special here. Periodic check, I really like. Continues, what is it? Straight. Side passages, a door. 15 was dungeon weather. 16 was special passage, because I wanted to collapse the passages. 17 was stairs, 18 dead end, because I didn't want to roll dead end on stairs, 19 is trap, 20 wandering monster. Check again passage curves if no direction for the monster is determined. And then I have a few which are like ignore if rolled twice during a session, and then I have another one for ignore if rolled twice, which is what? Whether in session or mapping. Oh, During cut out. Hey, 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 he's back. Try speaking now. I don't know if you're still on push to talk. And also, your audio might have changed. Let's see if you have muted yourself. Here, because when I was creating another kind of when I was creating another table that was going to kind of quote simplify these results, and this is why I really didn't like. This is why I really didn't like the concept of quote simplifying these results, because I do think that the Appendix A is perfect. I want to use every single modifier when I can, when I have the opportunity. It's just I don't always have the opportunity, and I'm met with this horrific blank space, and I don't know which of these tables are. I know that some of these tables are more important than others. They have to be, but I don't know which tables those are. It's not clear to me that rolling for the size and shape of a room is as important as rolling up the direction of a side passage or the qualities of a side passage. Let's see here. Durian says, if you can't hear me, oh, I pin. Let me pin. Let my people pin. If you can't hear me, split passages. Okay, that seems reasonable. Durian says pop. Yes, it doesn't look like you're speaking on my end. Streamer mode, voice and video. Yeah, it's all feeding to the same place on my end. It's just not clear to me that it's also going to you or any of the listeners. Hair's so greasy, dude. Oily. Terrible. Here's the thing. Okay, when you said split direction, I think direction is one of our categories. Because here, if we look at Appendix A, there's a lot of different ways that your tables, there's too many different ways that your different side passages and regular passages can go, right? You have a passage width, you have a passage, yeah. Yeah, you have side passages, God. This is really annoying. Really annoying. Hello. Oh, you went green for a moment. I just couldn't hear you. There it is, green again. Nothing. He must be. It has to be an issue of. It has to be an issue of input volume or input device. I think you said you're on your phone. Because I'm sure it's not on my side. Okay, so we have like special passages. We have doors. We have a location of door. No, but hey, Doof, nice to see you, buddy. Doof, right now we're collapsing the AD&D tables. We're trying to collapse the AD&D Appendix A tables in a way that lets us keep the Appendix A D&D tables. And you might be wondering why on earth anybody would do this, but I think I think it's clear when you look at how few people use these, and I can tell them to just get good in tables, but I'm in a state right now where people are not. Yeah, I'm in a state right now where people are not using these, and when they try to use them, they spend too much time on it. It doesn't get used at the table, and it's not clear to them which of these are more important than others. They know that some of these tables are more important than others, but they're not really sure which ones are more important than others. They know it's important to have stairs in the dungeon, but how important is it for a certain percentage of stairs to be dead ends or to go down 2 levels as opposed to go up 1 level or go down 3 levels? They know that traps are important, but is it important for like a pit to be like down 4 levels versus 2 levels? Is that something they need to roll for? And then nothing gets done during the session and they stop using this. Or they go play a rules-like game that collapses all these tables down into more simplified results, but you don't get the granularity, you never get any kind of variance in these different dungeon morphs aside from what people are kind of creatively making on the fly. So how do we thread the needle? We thread the needle by making a character sheet. And we say, these are your dungeon morphs, these are your hazards, these are your directions. I need to put that over here. These are your directions that you're going to go off in, but we connect them in some way to the back end code. This is our front end code, but we connect it to the back end code that says, hey, by the way, this dungeon morph, this 5-room dungeon morph 1, chambers. It's a 5-room dungeon. It's a 5-room dungeon layout. We say there's one big room, and it's connected to 4 smaller rooms that are connected. And maybe there's 2 doors, and then there are 2 doors that go somewhere else. To none of these. Fine. In that, I say one is 30 by 30, and the other 3 rooms, or the one room is 40 by 40, and the other 4 rooms are 20 by 20. And they're connected like this. All right, but anybody who has an opportunity, has some time, can go back and say, actually, I want one of those chambers to be just anything else. I want them to be anything else. So I can go on my Appendix A, table here, chambers and room shape and size. So we're going to roll. Oh, I got a 40 by 6. I decided that my one off in the corner here is actually a 40 by 60 room, and I'm able to take advantage of the granularity of the Appendix A table without needing to resolve the granularity of the Appendix A table all of the time. I like it. I prefer the granularity of the Appendix A table. I think it's better, qualitatively better, until the point that I can't actually run a session because I'm taking too long, or I don't understand it properly, and I don't understand the importance of I don't get the point of the Appendix A table. If you're sitting here as a first-time referee, first-time player, whatever have you, I think it's gesturing at something, that there's certain events that are supposed to happen a rough percentage of the time, but with enough granularity to make sure that it's not constant. That's not even those rough range bands aren't constant. I don't know. It's a kind of conversation that you can't have in RPGs. They can't think of in RPGs, that nobody thinks of in RPGs. They just hit the granular tables, and they either recognize the beauty of them, sometimes to their own detriment, or they just bounce off them. So my character sheet here says, hey, I know there's a lot of modifiers there. These are the modifiers that you must pay attention to and handle at minimum as a baseline. And then there will be circumstances where you go hunting for additional modifiers. Hey, you have to get things 80% of the way done in order to play the game. This is your 80%. That's what we're doing here. So we have chambers, 5-room dungeon. Durian, how goes it? Oh, hey, you're on your mobile now. Still nothing. Anyway, Durian, try speaking again. Uh-oh. Still nothing. Yeah. Is it you've got to be connected to like Bluetooth or something like that? That's or something that turns your input volume all the way down. Or you know what? Here, I'm gonna try it. No, it's definitely a you problem. I can't hear you. The stream can't hear you. I'm pretty sure the stream can't hear you. If I turn you up on here, keep talking. Yeah, I see green like you're trying to talk, and then nothing's coming through. That's really frustrating. Discord's being very silly right now. I don't have a solution. Anyways, do some typing though, because we have chambers, we have egress, gauntlet, arena. I think that we could probably switch. I think arena could be number 5. I think gauntlet could be. Wait, why am I doing this? I think okay, not egress. We're gonna say passages. We'll just say branch. Okay, yeah, we'll say branch, and then for... That'll be like our side passages and stuff like that. And then for... We have arena, and then over here I think we're gonna have, like, transport. Shift. Maybe we should just say elevator for changing, because I think primarily it's going to be changing floors, but maybe not. And then our weird result is going to be, okay, you roll again, or weird has a definition for, maybe it's not rolling again, really. No, okay, so I think the point of getting weird is, like, if I roll a d6, I rolled a 6. Alright, now, so I got weird, and then I roll 1. I get chambers. I get weird chambers. So what is a weird chamber? Maybe it means... Can transport include teleporter or underground river to another chamber, or canvases to the... or casabas? I don't know what that means. To the surface. I could definitely see somebody mistyping on, like, swipe or misusing swipe, or a misread swipe input for shortcuts producing that word. I don't know, maybe there's an actual word. We have 5-room dungeon. There's hazardous. We're gonna move all these. Is there a way to make sure that this all gets, like, specified properly? No, I don't want overflow. I want wrap. Yeah, there we go. Transport including teleporters, stuff like that. Yeah. Font size. I want everything going to... Weird. It's going to be roll again and something like a crevasse. Okay, hole in the ground. Yeah, okay, I like that. Like, maybe for Gauntlet, I'm also going to have to... just so it's not, like, provoking my autism. Alignment? Top. Let's just set everything to top. That's fine. So chambers that are weird are probably going to have pools or... Yeah, chambers that are weird are going to have pools or flooded. And of course, pools have a potential to be magic pool. Branches are going to be rivers. So our 2 result is going to be something like... Yeah. Well, again, 1 pool is flooded. 2 is going to be stuff like a crevasse. Or maybe not. No, we're going to save that. So that's going to be... It's going to be river or columns. I could say river and columns, because really, every time I roll up branch, it's trying to tell me This is the important part. Every time I roll up branch, it's telling me all of the next connections. It's not just one single connection. It's going to be all of the connections. So instead of saying, okay, passages or stairs, yeah, branch is only going to be passages. What are passages normally as far as turns? Passages normally are going to be stuff like Wise, Passage T, stuff like that. So we're going to have one passage that, when I roll for passages, it's going to tell me one that T's. So we're going to have like one straight. No, I'm not even going to say straight. We're going to have one 5 foot across. Say 5 foot abreast. We'll say that two 10-foot passages. We'll have one 30-foot passage. We'll have one that's just straight up 30 feet across, probably like a tunnel or something like that. And one 20-foot. Okay? Because what I'm really not interested in is rolling up each of these individually. I know that there are some rough percentages. Well, no, I personally am interested in rolling these up individually, but the chances are such that you're going to get one of these somewhere down the line anyways each time. For passage width, what do we have? We have one, so a result of 1 through 12 is a 10-foot passageway. 13 through 16 is a 20-foot passageway. So 60% here is going to be, if we assume that we're going to have 5 different, that when I roll up passage, it's going to give me 5 different results to use, we could say 60% of them, it's going to be a passageway. Yeah, 60% of them, it's going to be a 10-foot passage. And then really I should have like 3 10-foots there. We'll have 3 10-foot, 2 20-foot, and then 1 30-foot or 5-foot wide passage. And then a weird result for passage is going to be stuff like, yeah, it's not going to be a crevasse, but it is going to be stuff like rivers or columns. So what is a weird gauntlet, do you guys think? I think it's got to be like some kind of some broad environmental hazard, like an underwater section. In fact, I have a few different suggestions here from the table I was developing earlier. Each time the party ventures down a level, you'll create a new table for corresponding periodic check. The following process. Duplicate the previous level's table. 2, replace a range band of 2, like 1 to 2 or 7 to 8, with a new result from the corresponding level. Alternatively, replace a range band of 2 with another earlier result. So for level 2, you could roll twice and combine results, or you could get a trap way, which is 1d4 plus 1 traps in succession. Add 5 to all DCs for detection, mix and match triggers so as desired. Roll once for treasure and add 20% to the result. Sloping soft floor with heavy-set stones. So level 3, for level 3 I had stuff like underwater section. This level of the dungeon is flooded, even, or completely underwater, odd. And then there was magical environment, where you would take an environmental hazard from the encounter manual, or similar effect dominates this section of the dungeon. No language for section. Machine obstruction. Level 5. Cave section. That's important. There's also water feature. Let's see here. Results down this branch of the dungeon are all composed of caves and may break into far wider environs. And we have like a... So if I want to have like Menzoberranzan somewhere in the dungeon, then that's going to be the cave. Probably shows up... I know it looks like it shows up a little early, but remember, you're only changing a result of like 2 for this one table. This was my attempt prior to really to hook into the code in a way that simplified it. And I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked at all. I think it was just more work. I think my previous attempt to simplify it just created more work, because I didn't know how, at the time, I didn't understand how you could simplify a table in a way that still let the DM, or encourage the DM even, to hook back into the real code, the real backend. Yeah, water feature. Roll in the pool table if surface area exceeds 600 square feet. Roll instead for lakes. If rooms above... This was interesting. If rooms above have some water features, they may also spill into this one. So your elemental incursion, one-way portal, there's a lot of these. Maze trap, this room unfolds into 10, split between 4 levels. Ugh. That's definitely weird. Shoot, maybe that's the weird version of a gauntlet. Three, underwater. I feel like we already have Gauntlet for Hazard, so underwater or Maze Trap. We'll try that. 4. What's a weird arena? A weird arena has to be like an... That probably has a dedicated environmental hazard. So that's going to be a gauntlet, gauntlet hazard. Plus other contents. Someone say sandlings? Oh man. I don't know if you I don't know if we can use that word. I'm a potato fellow myself, so I don't know if... Let's see here. 5. Elevator. What's a weird elevator? That's probably going to be something like, again, it's usually comes down to stuff like water features, but teleportation. Teleportation or machine. And then what happens if I roll weird twice? What happens if I roll weird twice? I don't know. Six, rest of level. Has ooze, undead, or extraplanar theme. Yeah. Rest of level has ooze, undead, or extraplanar theme. So that's that. That's our weird. So we kind of got like content. 5-room dungeon. And we've got that for now. Durian, have you figured out your audio yet? Did I miss you? I see that you're presently muted. See, now it's at the very least showing you. It's showing us that you're muted. Stanley's. Ooh, you tagged me in it. I can open this up in the browser, right? Aha! It worked. Sand elemental. That's nasty. But I like it. Okay, so hazard. We have our morph, which is a result. Or effect. Hazard. Effect. We need to fill up this hazard table, because right now we have layers, we have wandering monsters. Layers is going to be pretty simple. That just means that there's 3 results of three single creatures. Sorry, three creature encounters. If I roll Chambers, which is my 5-room dungeon, and then I rolled Layers, which is, so I have like 3 creature encounters of same type. Probably 1 friendly of same, of different type. And then oh shit! Oh shit! Did I just figure it out? I have to hold that thought in my head. Crap. I really wish I could do remarkable like real time with everything else. A creature of same type, one friendly of different type, 1 wandering monster. The people are still going to do their wandering monster check because they can roll a d6 for that. Wandering monsters is just going to be wandering monsters is just going to be 1 monster check. Yeah, okay, we got 1 monster check. Or sorry, we have 1 placed monster. 1 roaming, 1 monster, one encounter roaming between rooms, and then we'll have like 3 monster counters wandering monster check. Or maybe more than that, right? This is the hazard is going up as time goes on, so screw it. 6 encounters for wandering monster check until you exhaust the local pool of wandering monsters. And that way, if players do want to, or you semi-exhaust the pool of wandering monsters, and that way, if your players do want to hole up per se, as the DMG recommends, or just provide some instruction on it, like it says, hey, wandering encounters is normally what, every 1 to 3 turns you roll for a random encounter. If let's say that the players clear out the local area and they decide that they want to they decide they want to hole up for the night. Well, it still needs to be dangerous, but it also, if the players cleared everything out, it's implied by the wording that if the players kind of clear everything out in the local area, there's not as much to come assault them. So what should they do at that point? What should they do? Or what should the DM do? Well, you should still roll encounter checks, but less of them, is the advice that Gary comes to. I think, hoping that the implication is clear. the implication isn't clear, or it's not clear enough. But I get it, because I'm enlightened, and I come to you from the ivory tower. But that's not enough. It's not enough. Other people didn't get it. They missed out. So I say 1 encounter roaming between rooms, 6 encounters for wandering monster checks. And then, absent a conflict timer or something else, some other, this is the thesis statement, character sheets and what counts as a character sheet, top-down declaration on what the players can definitely do to the environment around them. That's what a DM sheet has to be. A top-down declaration of what the DM can deploy at any given moment, unless a prior restriction has said otherwise. Maybe even in those very attack rolls, like if I attack once, I can't attack again. Unless, because my attack routine is I get 2 attacks once, or so I get 3 attacks every 2 turns. So I attacked once this I attacked twice this round. That means I can only attack once next round. Why not have that for the DM? How do you? Well, I understand why it's kind of difficult to come up with these. I gotta condition this. It just feels so dry. Shit. Hello. I had to try getting my fucking players in here. If Hart is watching, Hart needs to be in. I feel. I also want their input. That they would be like. I would love to have like Nessie or Otter inside here. Or Rez. Love Rez. Bunch of people I want. Wandering monsters, 1 encounter roaming between rooms. I would also love to have you in here. Man, I don't know why your audio was working and now isn't working. You blame Oklahoma. I also blame Oklahoma. So I can't think of another reason. Let's see here. If he's using a mic, he should check his connections and also his mic settings. But I think he was on Here's the thing, he was on mobile. Yeah, he's on mobile now, so there's like no reason for it to not be connecting. Check your input mode. Make sure you're not accidentally on push-to-talk mode. Well, that doesn't work because his voice is... The little green thing is popping up. The little green thing is popping up on occasion, and he's not muted. Right? Dorian, try talking. See if your voice input... Yeah, there we go. And... right now I'm not seeing your green thing pop up, which makes me think that you do have push-to-talk on. Can I change you to not push-to-talk? Yeah, and input is probably the last thing there. There we go. So I saw you pop up for a second. Do you I think you have to hold push to talk, even if you're on mobile. Changing noise suppression, cut off everything. That's fascinating. Yeah, so I think it has to be input. It has to be your input volume is for some reason screwed. Like probably voice sensitivity, if I had to guess. You are a beholder, and that should let you use voice activity. This permission is disabled. Or are required to use push to talk. Yes. Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing. I gotta go back to this. Mobile, you could tap on the member's icon on the top right and select the user. You could change their volume setting. Okay. Oh, hey! How's Marta? Oh, no fucking way. Okay, so you are also... You are also talking, and I'm also not hearing you. Oh my god. Okay, it was this. I am gonna lose my fucking mind.
I'm glad I popped in to kind of at least help sort that out.
Okay, so it was my earbuds. Here's the thing, you were connected to my Discord is also connected to my earbuds. I'm gonna I am so sorry.
Channel thing.
It's a bandwidth issue. Those earbuds do not have a lot of bandwidth, and as their battery gets lower, their bandwidth gets lower, so they can only handle so many applications at a time. Like my Galaxy Buds, they can handle probably Helldivers and Discord voice at the same time, but those ones can't. I have to change it to hands-free audio if I want it to work properly. Durian, I am so sorry. I thought I troubleshooted everything on my troubleshot, whatever. But now you've been building so many good ideas for the past half hour, which I must now have.
Right. So let's go back to the Monster Manual offhand comment you made an hour and 45 minutes ago.
Yes.
Ugh.
Okay, so I have something interesting, I think, for a third category. While you're getting ready, for a third category, I know that Treasure is going to make it up here at some point, but I have directions, because I think that one of the most time-wasty kind of tables in Appendix A is where the directions of the fucking side passages, and how they can kind of curve in different directions. God, that's so fucking embarrassing. They could go left 90 degrees, or right 90 degrees, or left 45 degrees ahead, right 45 degrees ahead, left 45 degrees behind, which is left 135 degrees, or right 45 degrees behind, which is right 135 degrees. We have left curve 45 degrees ahead. We have right curve 45 degrees ahead. Passage teeth, passage what? Yeah, it's just bad. There's four-way intersections, which is like 16 through 19. And I think what all of this is trying to do is either, I think I can abstract this to straight ahead, hard branch. Alright, that is definitely not where the fucking... I know what... format. I love how on Google Sheets, if you tell something to format in a specific way, and then you start typing in like a blank cell... Alright, well now that works apparently. Alright, I just fucked something up again. I'm not gonna tell you what, I'm not gonna blame any more technical issues on the platforms I'm using for the rest of the stream after what happened. But yeah, we have straight ahead, we have like a hard branch, we have a outward branch, which is like trying to get away from the current section of the dungeon. We have curve back. We have like loop current, I guess. And then maybe like loop outward. I don't really need like 6 different results for that. And then I could put weird for last thing again.
Oh yes, a hallway of 6 doors.
A hallway
Randomly
of 6 doors.
teleported to one of 5 doors.
Yes, I could say. Well, for branching, I could just say, yeah, we have outward branch, we have loop. I could have inward. We have hard branch, outward. Extension, where it's trying to make the dungeon bigger by forcing a longer tunnel into a foreign area. We have a loop current, where kind of like yeah, we have loops back. Hard branch, I think, is just something that's likely going to connect to the local. That's going to connect the local cluster together, whereas outward extension is going further out. Loops back, I think, is where it's trying to take the passages or other kind of dungeon rooms back towards back towards whatever like my main loop is. And then we have like multiple branch for like T intersections changing. Yeah, so that we're going to have at this T intersection or Y intersection or X or cross intersection, a 4-way stop here, or more. It's going to go into each of these individual branches is going to spawn their own morphs and their own sections of the dungeon. And then weird is whatever I don't know. I don't even want to speculate right now. We were talking about hazards earlier, though. Monsters.
Yeah, and I thought I got this out at some point, but I was questioning: do we want to be so evil as to make one of the like default values trapped or fake treasure?
Oh, I think that's one of the values. So I think in our treasure category, which is probably the last one, because I like that we could just roll 4d6 treasure. I think that has to be a category of treasure. It's trapped and fake. So maybe for hazard, weird isn't like weird. It's just like maybe it's just roll again.
I mean, roll twice, monsters and traps, or
So I think the number 6 result for hazard is you roll again, and each time it's exploding dice. Roll 2 dice for every 6. Do not stop under any circumstances. I have some interesting way. Tell me if these. I don't know if these would work, but I think that the names and the way that they're supposed to, the different kind, the navigation game that these imply, I think will help. Stalker. What is a stalker? Stalker critter.
well, it's a conjured air elemental that's given the specific target of
No, not
whatever
an
it's
invisible stalker. So I had, what was it? Yeah, each time the party ventures down to level, this is from an old iteration. Disable here. There we go. each time the party, I had an idea for where instead of like having 10 different like monster charts, I would just have one monster chart and let you customize it with these new entries as time went on, so that you would use that to kind of customize and cement the dungeon as time went on, but also make it enforce extra, like these little pockets of weirdness, which is kind of what we're doing. So I have two things. I have Bait and Stalker. Bait. Roll again. This is a monster encounter thing. One of the creatures is attached to a stalker from a lower level, CR, which is CR plus 7 to 11. I think it's supposed to be level. CR equals level. Yeah. CR equals level plus 7 to 11. So the level of this dungeon, and then, oh no, when I said lower level, maybe what I meant was the creature CR. It was like the bait CR plus 7 to 11. Maybe.
Some kind of kingfisher situation where no, that's not a zombie. It's the lure for some demon.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like, okay, let me give you a more direct example. I had a third level character, or I had players in the third level of the dungeon go through, and they fought a bunch of centipedes. And I said, well, that was an easy fight, which I was expecting. But I was trying to figure out what the next fight was going to be, and I got a random, like, wandering encounter. I'm like, man, it'd be really cool if, like, this was a little bit more interesting now. Because I think I rolled centipedes. No, what happened was I rolled centipedes again, and I said, this is not going to be just any centipede. This is going to be a big centipede. This is a necrotic centipede. And that's where the idea of the stalker came from. Was a creature like this paired with some bait elsewhere in the dungeon, that once that bait gets attacked or attacks something else, the stalker comes. So like you have the big fuck off necrotic centipede and the regular regular giant centipedes are its babies.
Got it. He wears a tiny crown and he is King Centipede.
He is King Centipede. That is exactly right. We have Stalker, and then there was another one. Which I don't know. Again, I don't know if I like that. There's the idea of a monster horde. That's kind of cool. There's magic horde, many monsters or some kind of elite. Basically, I need some kind of like elite. I think that like has a default magic item. Or something equivalent. It's been blessed in some way. I feel like Stalker and Elite are probably good. So Elite is either where I like double the... Invited to play Helldivers. 1 to 2. Either it's going to be 1 to 2 creatures of combined encounter strength, or 1 creature with magic item. So I don't have like a bunch of magic items on the first floor. 5. Or maybe it's the only way you can get a magic item on the first pad. And then Stalker is attached to, say, Bait and Stalker.
It's a flame tongue sword. No, he just dips it in burning oil. Sorry, try again.
Yeah, pretty much. Because Gary's advice for the magic item placement, this is one of the few times where he like really goes at you about like when the rules. It's not ignoring the rules. It's just that he's pointing at, much like with encounter reactions earlier, or non-encounter reactions, much like with encounter wandering monster checks in the dungeon. When the players are holding up, it tells you to reduce it slightly. He's just saying, yeah, like this procedure, you're still going to use this procedure for this other situation it's not intended for, but just know it's not intended for it because of this, this, and this. So you are free to diminish its severity in that case. And Gary does the same thing for magic items on the first floor of the dungeon. Because you could, because of the way Appendix A works, you could end up with a fire beetle with a ring of telekinesis. In fact, you could end up with a fire beetle with 2 rings of telekinesis. And that's one of the few places where he says, like, yeah, okay, we're not doing that. And it probably applies to the other rooms. So we have Bait and Stalker. Yeah, Bait and Stalker. Probably next time you roll a random... Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is the point of this. Next time you roll a random encounter check, or a wandering monster, it is a superior of... A superior to, larger version of, or... Yeah. It's like the bigger... It's a bigger version or the master of. Bigger version or master of the bait from... 1d6 floors down. A bigger, yeah, next time you roll a wandering monster, a bigger / more dangerous, a bigger version of the, or master of the bait from 1d6 floors down appears. Which is great, because now I have my centipede results, I have my giant centipede results, and then I have I have king centipede somewhere lower in the dungeon. So I know that if I roll centipede for bait, then as opposed to trying to roll anything and try to connect it to the centipedes, which is fun, and I like it, and I prefer it, but I don't always have time to do it, I can just say, okay, next time I get a wandering monster, it's going to be a really big version of this centipede. And I've just saved myself a ton of work. I can choose to do more. I can choose to go back into the code and pull out some more. But this is my DM. This is my minimum work, right? I think that when you roll an attack roll, you should have every single modifier possible in the book, thought of, and ready to go. But I also think that you should be done with your turn in 30 seconds. And these two things are at odds. Which is unfortunate, but I think we can make it. Okay, so that's the effect there. Directions, we have our branches. We're kind of the point of the Appendix A directions is that it's supposed to snake throughout the dungeon, and you're mostly supposed to get these you're supposed to get multiple different branches of the dungeon, but occasionally they loop back in. We could just collapse those tables into this. This is probably the table that people are going to go to the back end. People are probably going to take the front of the store version of directions and passage directions with this way more often than anything else. So, which means that all we have left is treasure at this point. Dorian, do you have any, or House Marta, does anybody have anything for treasure? Put some polls up.
Now, yeah, this is what like switches me around on like the concept. Because yes, you go to Appendix X, roll up a treasure, or no, Appendix G, and roll up a treasure, and just have those ready. But you want this defined on one sheet, not a separate tear off, not like anything. You want to just have this as something to give. So you want to have a prompt for a roll for a magic item, not a ring of spell storing.
Right. I think that we could thread the needle. I totally think,
Yeah, like we can always have 3d4 times 15 precious jewels,
yeah.
and then multiply times the level of the dungeon.
That's the thing is actually treasure, with the exception of magic items and gems, with the exception of magic items and gems, I think that treasure in Appendix A is probably the easiest table to handle. It's just you just roll. Okay, if I have what's 84 on Appendix A? Is that, I'm pretty sure that's platinum. I want to say it's platinum. Oh, there we go. Treasure. 81 to 90 is 100 platinum pieces per level. Cool. And then, yeah, you have 1 to 4 gems per level, 1 piece of jewelry per level, and then magic. Roll once on the magic items tables. That's where it gets a little nasty. A little difficult, because I'm doing 100 plus 10. Okay, 90 was, I think, more platinum again. I'm pretty sure that was more platinum again. What happens if I do it again? Eventually, we get a magic item. Oh man, no magic items for this. Oh, 2 magic items! But that's where the problem comes in, because now I have to go through a whole lot of bullshit. Ah! No!
Same, man. Same.
Leap bookmark. Oh, okay, cool. I got a treasure now. I gotta go down to magic items. I gotta roll. So I have I have 2 of these at the same time, and I'm gonna have to probably equip 89 and 31.
89 is miscellaneous, 31 is a scroll.
Oh joy! All right, so we'll do the scroll first. Oh hey, that's gonna make this easier. 1 through 10. It's just 1 spell of spell level 1 to 4. For 3rd level spell, fucking fireball, probably. Okay, now we go to miscellaneous weapons. Table H, or Hitler. That's... Hitler is deeply upsetting to me. And, let's see here. That's what this table makes me feel. Gonna roll another D100. We got a 30. We got Bolt +2, 2 to 20 in number. Now I get to roll 2d10. I got 7 for all that work. We have one scroll of we got one scroll of Fireball. And and 7 plus 2 bolts. That was a lot. I think that the point of that encounter... if I think about it... Okay, so it's kind of how, like, you could have people just living in a lair, but then there's also a lair which is an ambush, like they know that you're coming and they're really gonna mess with you. That's where we start going to... That's what we did with the dungeon morph, right? What's the point of the room chambers? Well, the point of this one kind of loop, this one common loop or pattern, I want to say, rotation. Almost, if you thought of the DM as like playing, like casting spells, but the spells were like dungeon rooms and passages, they're Pathfinder 2 style, Pathfinder 2nd edition style of chambers. One of the rotations would be a 5-room dungeon. And I think 5-room dungeons suck because they replaced real dungeons. But I think that you could totally put 5 rooms in a real dungeon, and it would mostly correspond to the AD&D tables. But that doesn't seem insane to me. Similarly, I think with treasure, we have trapped and fake. So we're gonna have one fake treasure, one real, or one, well, we'll say one trapped, one real. Because remember, it's going across this entire this entire section of chambers. So if I roll like 4d6, we're rolling for everything at once. I got a 16. What does that mean? I got 5, 5, 4, and 2. Okay. Five, 5, 4, and 2. That means we found an elevator with an elite creature that's designed to take us back to the main branch of the dungeon. And what kind of treasure does it have? We have regular. Which is probably going to be, what, just like, let's say 250, what is it, 1,000 silver. Yeah, 1,000 silver per level, 250 gold per level, 100 platinum per level. And that's just spread out across this area of the dungeon, which happens to be an elevator with an elite unit, or an elite monster here. It's supposed to take us back to some main branch. And because we only just started making the dungeon, loops back in this context means it has a destination somewhere that branches off for a little while before it comes back. So number 3, what's number 3 for treasure? Because at some point we got to put magic.
Well, being the unfeeling, cold-hearted GM I am, one of my favorite magic treasures is a pair of trapped potions. Set to pull an admixture if you don't know what you're doing when you're pulling them out.
Pair of traps. So it forces an admixture. Okay, that's an interesting trap.
I've got more. That's my third favorite one, but
I really like it.
I have to grab random potions for you. Let me know.
Please do. Yes, please do. Please. I find that fun. Because here's the thing. Trapped and fake. For trapped and fake, we could say like number one is like curse or trapped potions. Because I like our weird or special our roll again results. Are quite fun here. Two is regular. So I think for 2 we just bump everything up by like 1 step. Where we say, okay, it's 250 gold per level. Plat per level.
Okay. So, potion of ESP, potion of longevity.
And what happens when you mix those together? Where's that potion miscability table?
That's a. I think it's just above all of that.
This could have some absolutely fucking disastrous results. Like somebody ground up. It would be so bad. I would be tempted to say that somebody ground up like a mind flayer tadpole and put it in a kind of and stuck it in a humidifier that was attached to the attached to this treasure chest or something. All right, so we need 3 more treasure though. Treasure results here. So
Potion missability, I think, is on like page 119.
190. Leave it. Handle of invocation. Oilsy. Yes.
Lethal poison, mild poison, potions destroyed.
Let's both roll a D100 here and laugh about the result. Let's all 3 of us should roll a D100 here and laugh about the result.
That like 1 in 100 chance for discovery though. That's pretty cool. Like a permanent effect.
I like it. All right, everybody, roll a D100. Here we go.
Okay. 97 compatible results. 1 potion, 150%. So somebody gets 12 years younger.
That's amazing.
What was Avray's? That one always gives me trouble. Is this
it's exclamation point R. And you put a space and then the die. I'm gonna roll.
I got a 2.
You got a 2?
Lethal poison results and the imbiber is dead.
If externally mixed, a poison gas cloud of 10-foot diameter results, and all within it must save versus poison or die. Yeah, alright, I like that. And then a 77 is miscible. Potions work normally unless their effects are contradictory. Okay.
So now you gotta bowl it up, shake out the glass, put it into another potion, and really want to get your youth back the next time you're bleeding out.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that. So, alright, so we got trapped and fake treasure, we have regular treasure, and we know that when we get a special result, that number 1 is going to be like a curse or trapped potions. And then a special number 2 result is just going to move everything, is just going to bump everything up. So I guess we could put expensive next. Maybe useful. What does useful treasure mean in this case? It probably means a bunch of... maybe that's not next. We'll put, like, expensive here, and then we'll have useful for traps, or not for traps, for, like, potions and scrolls.
Potion of water breathing for a dungeon we have flooded and all that.
Yeah, so we have, like, potions, scrolls, and poisons. Now, again, somebody could go off and roll for those individual potions, scrolls, and poisons, but we're on an elevator, and there's 1 or 2 elite creatures here. That's intended to loop back to the dungeon. So I can... If I'm lost, I can still go ahead and roll for it, but I think that the variance here has given me... And I personally want to roll for it because I want to see what kind of, like, nonsense the game will give me. That might not be useful, right? Might not be useful. But the point is that it is going to be useful at some point for a monster, and it's the first room of the dungeon, so I should probably pick something, as per Gairy's advice, I should pick something that's going to be useful to the monster itself, and isn't going to be as useful to the players, especially once it gets expended. They got potions, scrolls, and poisons. I think I could just look at this and say, alright, there's like 3 vials of dry poison that are going to get applied to this guy's blade or blades, and that's it. So that leaves our number. We have expensive, which is going to be just like treasure but better. Trapped and fake. Instead of saying 1 fake treasure, 1 trapped, 1 real, I should say... also, there's 1,000 copper pieces per level. Because that's the same thing. Yeah, trapped and fake. 1 fake map. Trapped. 1,000... 1,000 pieces per level. And then somewhere there's also 1,000 copper pieces per level. Because copper pieces, really, they are fake treasure. It's funny, but, like, also it's really true. Like, that's kind of the point of copper treasures. Like, you got something, you got a fake result. Right? The game kind of put
okay.
on you.
Yeah, congratulations, everybody. You can go out and you can have a meal at a tavern for the next 70 days.
Yeah, and you only have to give up your tents to carry it back with you. And your bedrolls, and maybe your armor. Let's see here.
No. You see, you make a bindi, and then you hang a sack full of the copper in front of a rust monster.
What the DM intended for stick, God intended for carrot. Ah, goodness. Goodness gracious, that's really good. Okay, so we got expensive, that's just gonna be, we have useful, so potions, scrolls, and poisons, and maybe a map. Yeah, potions, scrolls.
I mean, should we have theme? Like, if it's a flooded dungeon, could the treasure be oysters?
I don't think it should be. I think that number 5 should be something having to do with magic items. I'm not sure. Maybe we should know. Maybe number 5 should be. Ooh, what do I think?
That scrolls already. I mean, if we're just going to roll for it, it's going to be random. But just saying, and thus there's a magic weapon. Yeah.
And that should probably only be on like on 2 rolls, right? Like what I'm thinking is probably like special if you do.
So like exploding dice here. Roll 1 5. Add magic item to another treasure. But if you roll another 5, add this other one. Add a +2 sword instead of a +1 sword.
Maybe it's a horde. Maybe it's a horde, and then the special thing is what modifies. I think I did this for Seven Willows for the update. Hold on a second. Where's Canva? Canva 7 Willows Zine. I absolutely did fucking do this. God, I can't wait to look at this. I cannot wait to just have everybody hold this in their fucking hands. What do we got? This is how I did Seven Willows, but I wish I had more because I didn't have like that back end code. But what was it? We have treasure type. We had like a 1 to 2 on a d6, so 76 times 7 amber pieces. 3 to 4 was 76 gold pieces. Number 5 was a component. Number 6 was special. Then you have the special table. 1 trophy, 2 alchemy, 3 magic, 4 ranger cachet. Or cache. 5 is a journal note, and 6 is a horde. Ranger cache is basically like a miniature. Is like a miniature horde. It says contains 1 alchemy and 2 weapons of your choice. Each has a 1 in 6 incrementing chance of being a magic weapon. You could choose to restock the cache with an equal or greater value and quantity of gear. If you do, the next man-type enemy you would encounter is instead a ranger out of time, wielding the gear you cached. The ranger stays by your side for 76 weeks. And then there's Horde, right? Horde contents, where you roll, amber and gold pieces, multiply GP by 10, amber plus 2 treasure, gold plus 2 treasure, 2 treasure plus 1 special, 2 special, and then 2 treasure plus 2 special, which is, you know. So like there's like this nested quality to it. Just like there is in AD&D, except that one's like the really simplified table. It doesn't have the code behind it. I think for something like special, like I think, so we have that useful result earlier. I think that by default it doesn't include like a, probably doesn't include treasure maps or scrolls by default. But I do think it has like potions and poisons, because that's easy. I think if you get special, you add scrolls or treasure map. So if it's an enemy, it gets a scroll, probably. But if it's just a stored treasure, it's probably going to have it's probably going to have a treasure map. And then 5, I think 5 is the horde where we re-roll. I think 5 is the horde and we re-roll. Has 1 magic item, 250 gold pieces per level. And then roll twice. And then I can modify this, where I can say like magic item map, but magic item on rolling this result again. 50 gold pieces per level, roll twice. So somebody roll me like another 2d6.
It's a 6 and a 2. 8.
I got a 6 and a 4.
You got a 6 and a 2. So 6 is a special result. So the horde becomes specialed. And then 2 is regular. So what happens when... What happens when 2 becomes special? Probably get some it probably adds some jewelry. And that way we can collapse the jewelry result into this. Again, I like rolling the D100 tables. It's fun and stuff like that. But if I'm in the middle of the game, I need to be able to just go bunch of D6s and know this. Good. Fine.
Going over the tables is kind of making me want to work on like condensing mine, but at the same time, what my solution is that I'm working on is making like scripted scripts and like Ruby for programming.
Yes. That's what a lot of people do nowadays. Is what I have for Foundry. Like I've started importing the stuff from I started importing contents from Foundry to from AD&D to Foundry. I don't know if you saw the other night. Oh yeah, here we go. I have my D100 tables for fucking aerial survey.
You want to know something useless because I don't have it hosted anywhere?
What's
First thing I did in programming in HTML was make a generator for the like treasure tables and gold value of the like gems and such. Discovered at the time there was a 64,000 character limit for HTML strings.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I don't have to worry about that. The tables are just a small part of a larger project I'm working on, but it doubles as like GM tools. So it's been pretty handy. Generating like whole towns and populations, and then also it like concatenates different place names for like English
Double
locations
in
and
our
stuff
server
like
did that for the Dungeon 24 quest. Yeah.
Do what?
Double in our server, who's in our server, plays Edward in our server. I'm creeping back into my speech. Fuck. He wrote a script for Dungeon 24 based on my procedure for it, where you roll that d20 and to check for habitation, and then it automatically rolls for random encounters, and it had, I think, some of the castle tables in there. I believe it's still pinned. It was a Python script. I should put it up on screen, and I love this shit, but to me it was another example of how this is not the DM's character sheet. I think the DM's character sheet needs to take the moves that not the DM is making, or is supposed to make, but the game is making. The game is making moves against the players in these tables that are like, okay, the move this time is taking the players off in a foreign direction away from this section of the dungeon. And then there's a move where it loops them back into the primary section of the dungeon. And then there's another move where it gives them fake treasure, or gives them a series of traps, or an increased hazard, or an easy fight. the move of front-loaded danger but reward, or soft obscure danger that's intended to trick you, tricks and traps and stuff like that. I think that there are these patterns inside the game, and I think that a DM character sheet could just use these, and I think I think we got it. Like, we did it with the... I think here is probably good enough for most dungeon tables. I know where the back end for all of these proper tables are. And I want to roll on them. But if I need the system to make a move in the moment, then this is what I would roll on. Because it roughly corresponds to what the tables are going to spit out anyways, but I prefer the tables because they give me even more variance. This allows me to dip into the tables whenever I have the time and the opportunity without relying on the intense, long resolution to have the game participate against the players. Or with the players, however you want. Crap, alright, I'm losing my voice at this point. I think that's all I got for today.
Mm.
What are your thoughts? How dumb am I for pursuing this task? Of creating off of a YouTube video, creating a DM character sheet. Or sorry, a Twitch video.
Well, I mean, I spent like 24 hours mad about somebody I don't know and don't care about disparaging the phrase cut and paste. So, I mean, I've had to access myself a little bit here.
What's the matter with cut and paste? Or was that me?
The part of Matt Colville's rant that you played on your stream is like, he was like, "Oh, I have to cut and paste this," and I'm like, and I was like in my memory dreamscape in middle school, and I'm like, cut and paste used to fucking cost money.
I love cut and paste. This trap.
Yeah, cut and paste. Yeah, cut and paste is great. Like, obviously, the sentiment was I shouldn't have to be the one to like gather everything I need all the time. But like, I mean, I've made my own reference materials, so
yeah,
like,
that's
the good thing to do.
It is fun. I love the DIY. As he said, the DIY thing is fun. You should not be required to do it to participate in the hobby. The game should just kind of work on its own. There shouldn't be this disconnect. Because this is the problem, I think, with people with Colville's perspective, is they gave up all of the materials. He doesn't think he did, because he's not as familiar with the rules. Or he thinks he's above them in some capacity, or probably some mixture of both, which is not... He started playing when he was like 12, okay? That's fine. Because this wasn't here, they were not going to catch the rules that got away, you know?
No.
Like, it makes me annoyed too. Like, when I hear him... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, and we're talking about character sheets. Character sheets.
Yeah.
Like, does anybody, like, if you sat down on a table in any D&D game, any time in the last 50 years, is everybody going to have an official printed character sheet? I don't think I saw one until I was, like, 20.
No, all my players use new, like, and improved, like, fan-made ones that have better layouts.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays...
Or like form-fillable ones, unofficial.
Form-fillable PDFs. Yeah. Well, here's the thing is, like, nowadays the standard is, yeah, there's fucking online character builders. And once you have online character builders that are, like, official and work and make even relatively either complex or just long character creation process, right? Because not a character creation can be long without actually being mechanically complex, because it's just designed in a dumb way. But making either of these two categories of character creation simple and fast, it was like, oh, yeah, why Why doesn't the rest of the hobby work this way?
Oh yeah, but like DM Guide, I think has a character generation set per player for AD&D to roll like 48 characters at once, and then just decide which one of those stat totals you want to play.
I think it's Appendix P, isn't it? I'm confident it's Appendix P, because I think I kept mixing Appendix P with Treasure Type P, I think. Appendix P, creating a party. There are times, often if you attend many conventions, where you will have a group of players desiring to adventure in your campaign who have no suitable characters with which to do so. You might want only low, medium, or high-level characters for the particular scenario you have in mind, and regardless of level, it is certain that you will not wish to have ultra-powerful, considering character level, or strange magic items in the group. Therefore, it becomes necessary to have the party generate special characters on the spot, and this takes up valuable playing time. In order to reduce this to a minimum, the following system, one which I have developed per force from my DMing many conventions, is suggested. Players roll 4d6, discard the low die, arrange the scores as they like. Racing class, they make their adjustments. Alignment, don't be an idiot. It's carry thing there. Level, you use random dice to figure out players or levels. Multi-class races are best handled by adding 1 level per profession to the level generated, and then dividing the total by the number of classes involved, counting all fractions as whole numbers. Interesting. So if you want to like be a multi-class race, like a gnome, illusionist, magic user, something like that, then you can you will add your level total, but then you're going to cut it in half. You're going to add the number of classes and then cut it in half. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and well, that was a trend for parties of 50 levels, and okay, play with 10 5-level characters or 5 10-level characters. There's a difference, but that it was the hope that included. Yeah, well, a level 15 fighter, level 7 thief is a pretty great character.
Oh goodness! If the party is generally above 5th level and going into a hazardous area, or if the party 50th level, fuck yeah. Above 5th level and going into a hazardous area, or if the party is generally above 8th level, then you might determine it advantageous to award from 1 to 4 miscellaneous items according to the following list. Large groups are less likely to need some. But yeah, just quick start. Fucking awesome. Alright guys, that's my voice. I gotta go. I had to go if I want to make sure that I get the video out today.
Alright, James. See you later. We'll talk about the Cat Lord.
We will talk about the Cat Lord. How you guys how was that? Is this I'm hoping this isn't like a completely fucking stupid idea. I think it could be handy.
No, I think a quick and dirty reference that is built on the rules can probably come in handy a lot, because just looking through the book today, everyone knows that the AD&D book is kind of difficult to locate sometimes, and sometimes things are not where you think they are, but they're in tangentially related sections. It's just how it is. But kind of gathering that up in a quick and dirty reference will come in handy.
Mm.
I certainly hope so.
And I think we made good progress, except for the hour and a half I was not participant.
I couldn't fucking believe that was. Because I even switched my headphones between stereo and hands-free audio, and it was Jesus. Anyways, goodbye everybody. Goodbye.
Yep.
Peace.
Thank you for hanging out. We are.